In his 33 years of coaching, he's racked up nearly 700 career victories. Meet Iona basketball coach Jerry Welsh and his son Tim. Welcome to their New Rochelle, New York home, and welcome to Sports Wrap. When you think of some of the names associated with Iona basketball, a few names certainly pop into your mind. Jeff Ruland, Jim Balvano, Pat Kennedy. But Jerry Welsh and his reign is now full-fledged underway here at Iona basketball. So let's get to meet him and know him a little bit better. Jerry, first of all, you grew up in Massena, New York, which is right on the St. Lawrence River. Tell me what it was like growing up in that small town just a stone's throw away from the Canadian border.
We liked sports very much. The areas that I lived in were, we really enjoyed that part of it. We didn't have television in those days. Everything was your high school team mostly, and we would get on the radio professional basketball or obviously baseball, and we just really enjoyed, the school atmosphere and the sports and the things of that nature. We did probably a lot more playing of the game because of the fact that there wasn't enough time, there wasn't any television, or we didn't take time to listen on the radio that much. So we had a good time growing up.
So basketball was pretty popular up there despite the influence of Canada and hockey?
Oh yeah, basketball is in high school is the big sport all over the United States, and certainly no different up in northern New York. In fact, when I was growing up, there weren't any high school hockey teams or anything of that nature. Basketball and baseball and football were the major sports at the high schools, and the smaller schools didn't have football, but the larger ones did. But we didn't have any at our school. When I went to high school at the beginning, we only had two sports: basketball and baseball.
When did you meet your wife, Kathy?
I met Kathy when I was in high school in northern New York, and then I didn't see much of her until my senior year in college, and then she was teaching back, her first year teaching back in elementary school in Massena, and I ran into her there.
All right, let's go back 33 years. Tim comes along.
Yeah.
As a father, first son, as an athlete, were you hoping and pushing Tim to get into athletics as he started to get older?
Well, it's almost like my daughter, someone asked my daughter once if she liked basketball, and she said, well, I guess I have to, don't I? It wasn't that way, but Tim loved sports from the time that he was young, and actually I think from maybe the time he was 2 or 3 years old, I never went out of the house that he wasn't with me. He went to all the practices. I coached at the high school then, and he went to the games and the practices, and then when I started coaching at Potsdam, which was 20 miles away, he'd even come over for practices after school with an elementary teacher in the school that he went to ride to Potsdam, go to our practices, and then ride home with me. And of course, every weekend, he'd go on scouting trips with me when I'd go scouting another team or recruiting. And so he got involved, and he really loved it. I remember taking him to his first sign-up for his punt, pass, and kick contest. And he played Little League baseball and Pop Warner football, of course, and Biddy League basketball before he went on to the high school.
Tim, let me bring you in here with this question. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Great Santini. Robbie Benson and Robert Duvall. Duvall played an ex-Marine who was always pushing his son, the ex-Marine, with his demeanor and everything. I think I know the answer to this because you can basically tell with Jerry's personality that it's not like that. But as a coach, was your father pushing you into athletics and really always on you in that respect?
Absolutely not. It was the first love for me always, and it was something that I always treasured and felt very fortunate to be able to do, to be involved in something so firsthand and be able to actually play the sports and then have another learning tool to get better by going and watching his practices and hanging around his players, and they kind of took me under their wing, his players, whether first at the high school level and then even up into the college level where I used to go and onto the road trips, and sometimes even on the weekends the guys would let me stay in their dorm room, which was like the biggest thrill in the world, but there was never any push. It was always a first love for me, all sports. I mean, it was all where we grew up, sports was very big. I mean, all the guys that we hung around with, and that's all we did. I mean, in the summer we played baseball, and whether we had a game or not, we'd find a field and play. In the fall, we'd play football, and even on Sundays, we'd have flag football or touch football or whatever, or tackle in the mud or in the snow even. And even though I didn't play hockey, we'd still play hockey on some days. You know, if an off day from basketball, we'd put the skates on, and all the basketball players would be knocking each other around and falling down on their backsides. But it was a sports environment growing up, and of course it helped being involved, you know, being close-knit with the family and everything involved with the sports.
One of Tim's best friends when he grew up and played all high school basketball and baseball with was Jim DeShays, who's pitched in the major leagues for now over 10 years, and he comes from Massena. Two past incidents that come to mind is when Tim came over to Potsdam to practice a few times, several times, but one time practice had started and I noticed he wasn't in the gym, and I wondered where he was. Well, some of the players, he was like in 3rd or 4th grade at that time, we have these large mesh lockers, huge, had locked him in one of the lockers as a joke. And another time, just last week, Ed Hubert, who played on our team 27 years ago at Massena, the only undefeated high school team in the history of the sport at Massena, was down here visiting. He's an administrator with the New York Power Authority now, and he came to our game with Rhode Island. And when he was playing in high school, Tim was in 1st grade, in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. And Tim used to always have a ritual that he had to hold his high school ring, and he thought that brought good luck. And one day, we're about to start the game, and the teams were warming up, and I looked right behind me. Tim always sat right directly behind me, and there was tears in his eyes, and he was in 1st grade. And I said, "What's the matter, Tim?" He said, "We're going to lose." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Eddie Hubert forgot to give me his ring for good luck. I had to go and get Eddie warming up, go to the locker room, get his ring, and bring it back for Tim."
What was it like playing for your father at Potsdam State?
It was a great experience. I would say that's where I really started to develop a coaching type knowledge of the game. Growing up in high school, you're just trying to learn how to play the game and how to do the right things on the court. But you know, as I played in college, I wasn't a great player, so I started to try to get into the X's and O's a little bit more, and you know, the scouting, and I'd go with them on the scouting trips and try to really get involved in what offenses and defenses and tendencies that teams have. And of course, then I started to go to the Final Four with them, and we'd go to the practices and go to all the clinics and everything. And the actual playing part was great. I mean, we had some great teams there, and I was kind of a role player on those teams. So, but I used the experience more of obviously you learn how to win because we won a lot of games, and also to really try to develop a coaching knowledge of the game during those years.
Was it difficult for you, Jerry, with your son on the team? Did you have to walk a delicate line sometimes? You know, should I put my son in or should I not? Or did he play too much?
I think in many instances it could be a problem, but in Tim's case it was not, except that occasionally I get from home, his mother thought he should be playing 35 minutes a game instead of 25 minutes a game or something. But really it wasn't, because Tim was an excellent leader. He was co-captain of the team his senior year, and he always led the team in taking charges and getting loose balls, and passing was his forte, and the players always realized that he liked to pass and was a team-oriented player. So because of his work ethic and because of his attitude and leadership ability with the others, it wasn't a problem at all, because he never complained, and he worked as hard as any player I've ever had while he was on the floor. So that was not a problem at all. I kid him once in a while. When he was his senior year, we came in 2nd in the nation. We lost by 1 point in the national championship game in 1985. And we used to draw tremendous crowds there, 3,000 or 4,000 fans every game. And Tim graduated, and we had a great team. But after he graduated, we won our next 60 games in a row. So I had to kid him, and I say, we really had to get rid of you before we had great teams.
Tim, were there ever any uncomfortable moments when maybe someone on the team criticized something your father did as a coach, and you had to sit there in a very uncomfortable situation?
I really don't think so. We had kind of a unique situation. First of all, the reasons we were successful, it goes back to any successful teams. We're a tight group, and we really believed in the coach, and I think that goes in any team sport. You have to be a close-knit group, and you have to believe in what the coach does, and that's what we had, and that's why we were successful going to the Final Four and winning regional championships. So there really wasn't any of that going on, and we had kind of a different group where we all hung out together. We were all very, very tight. In the off season, we did a lot of things together, whether it was going to different sporting events on campus, or going up to the Montreal Expo baseball game, or taking a ski trip, or going to Saratoga to the racetrack. We did a lot of things together in the off season, so we all grouped together, and there wasn't any jealousies or anything, which was why I think one of the reasons we were successful. And obviously the program was built on success, and you walk into a program and you try to, uphold that tradition. And there was a lot of great teams before us. Some teams that won the national championship, won the national championship, and went to the Final Four. So you're trying to keep that going, and there really wasn't any jealousies in any aspect at all.
March 27th, 1991. Iona basketball now names Jerry Welsh their head coach. Describe that day. What was it like when you first got that call? Was it a major challenge for you at that point?
Well, it was. It wasn't easy to move because, not because of what Iona lacked, it was because of what you were leaving. When you're at one place, one area for your entire professional career, you make a lot of friends, and you get very comfortable in your position, and we had many friends there, and the people up there were great and are great, and it wasn't easy to leave because of that. The friendships, the memories, the good times. It's hard to leave things like that, and that's what made it hard. But Iona welcomed me, very warmly. They're great people here, very friendly, very nice people, and helpful. And so they made the transition easier because of the way that they treated me here. We liked the area, we liked the people. Obviously, we still miss it up there. Our roots are there, our family is there, and the people up there are great. But it wasn't easy, but yet with Tim here, it made it easier, and my wife was very supportive of it, and that helped.
Tim, do you remember your father that day? What was he like?
I wasn't here at that time. I remember he left. I was living in Syracuse at the time, and he had left my home, and he was excited. I mean, you have to go into a change, really pumped up, and I know he was really pumped up, and we had talked about the situation, and because from my aspect, I had been a coach here in 1986 for a year, so I knew the school, and I knew the people involved, and of course good friends with Rich Petriccioni, the athletic director, who was a tremendous athletic director, and I coached with him at Florida State and in Iona. So there were so many positives with the situation that we were both very, very excited about the whole move, and just anxious to get going.
How were you offered the assistant coaching job here at Iona?
Well, my father was going through the interviewing process and the hiring process and the thought process if he was going to take the job. We had discussed about working together here at Iona, and we had always talked about it back from when I went to our first Final Four back in the late 1970s, and we sat there and said this would be great to be coaching together out here during a Final Four, or coaching at a high level together and winning championships and succeeding. And so that we talked about that, again as it got closer to him coming to Iona, and then after he came, and we talked about it and went through the particulars of everything, and he gave me a few weeks to think about it, and obviously I was in a very good situation at Syracuse University, working for Jim Boeheim there, and I really loved my job there. So I had to think about it, obviously, but when it came down to a career move and different aspects of what you want to do down the road, and just also being able to work with your family members and being a close-knit unit, and being at Iona, which is a special place for me, it was a good move for us.
Jerry, was there any resistance to putting your son in the coaching job there?
Oh, no. The head coach had the opportunity to hire anybody he wants, and Tim had the experience. He had been at Iona a year with Pat Kennedy, and then he had been 2 years with Pat at Florida State, 3 years at Syracuse. So he had 6 years of Division I experience. And I knew he knew the game, and I knew how he was a hard worker. So there was no problem.
Be interesting to find out what kind of coaching disagreements you have now that you both work on the bench together.
Well, not really. I learned from him, and he learns from me different things, and we kind of, put our things together from what we've learned with our background, our experiences. And not really. We really believe in the same philosophy of the game of good defense and team offense and fast break offense when we can, and that type of thing that we believe in. We believe in a good student athlete. We want to have our students all graduate. We want good people in here. We want that type of an atmosphere. So we believe in the same things.
For lack of a better word, is Tim being groomed into the head coaching job at Iona when you leave?
No, I don't think so. Tim, this is a big field, college basketball and college athletics, and you never know when the opportunity is going to come up to be anywhere. Tim's got much of his entire professional career ahead of him, and who knows what the opportunities will arise, whether it be at Iona here or somewhere else. No one knows down the road. The only thing we can do is to try to do the very best job we can each and every day that we're working it. And then whatever happens, happens. I know that Tim will be a good head coach someday, maybe at Iona, maybe somewhere else, but he will be a good coach.
Most likely, you won't be at Iona forever. There will be a day where you step down or leave for whatever reason. And even if you weren't at Iona now, maybe that'll make it a little easier. What would be your dream job? And would it be definitely in the NCAA?
Well, I'm not sure what the dream job is. You want to get into a situation where the people are very interested in success. They know that the basketball program, athletic program, has a very important part in the total life of the student body and alumni and faculty staff and the people in the area, so that there's a tremendous amount of interest. And you want to be associated with people that really want good student athletes, that, like they do here at Iona. They want everyone to graduate. They want good people in here, and that's very, very important. With the conferences the way they are today, it is difficult for a mid-major program to succeed with the top 70 or 75 elite of the big power conferences and so forth, with arenas, with TV, with revenues, with what they have to put out in their entire budgets for athletics. So you don't know. I really believe, Rob, though, that you can have success and be just as happy coaching on any level. I was extremely happy coaching on the high school level, because as long as the players want to work hard, as long as they want to play together as a team, as long as everyone sees success as improvement, as togetherness, you can go home at night and feel really good about it because everyone is pulling in the same direction and succeeding.
Tim, what about you? You have probably 30 more years to go in coaching. Where would you like to go? Would it definitely have to be in Division I if you stay in college?
Well, I really would like to stay in Division I. Now this is going on my 9th year in Division I coaching, and I think my father's answer was a great answer, and it speaks for what I believe in also. And I don't think you can look ahead. I think you got to work hard at what you're doing, and you can't say, well, I want to get to this job or I want to do that. I mean, I'd like to be a head coach at the Division I level, but I can't live and die every day thinking about that. I have to do my job at hand, and if I do my job at hand, hopefully someday that will work out. But I've been at Florida State, a major university, and Syracuse, a major university, and Iona, a mid-major university. And once that ball goes up and the lights go on, it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, there's intensity. You're trying to work with the kids in practice. You're trying to beat the other team. You're trying to prepare. You're recruiting. It's all very similar. and then at the end, if you are successful, you feel very proud of the job you've done, no matter at what level you're at.
Maybe you two will be in a field of 64 one day.
We sure like to be. You know, that's the ultimate that everyone wants, is to try to reach the tournament. I think there may be too much emphasis today on the NCAA tournament. I've seen teams recently have 23-3 records, get in the NCAA tournament and maybe lose in the first round and act as if their season was a complete disaster. I think that's not the way sports are meant to be. I think it's over the long haul how you succeed and improve and work hard. I think there may be too much emphasis on the NCAA tournament, but we'd like to be there.
Jerry, Tim, I'm sure you've made Iona proud. Congratulations and best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you for watching Sport Trap. Until next week, I'm Rob Astorino. Good night.